Good evening and welcome to the Village Board meeting for the Village of Pleasantville. Today is Monday, November 9. We're meeting as we have for months now, remotely via Zoom. You can pick up the Zoom link for any of our meetings at pleasantville-ny.gov. Also pick up the Zoom links for our other boards and commissions that are meeting remotely. Within a few days, the recording of our Zoom meetings gets posted at pctv76.org. So our next regular meeting is 2 weeks from today on Monday, November 23rd, a work session at 7, regular meeting at 8. So we have a bunch of things on our agenda tonight, but the first of them, so as not to suck up any more of his time, is to introduce Troy Tassier, a Pleasantville resident, parent of young swimmers, a professor at Fordham University, who made the mistake of signing a letter complaining about aspects of the pool, which inevitably puts you at risk to becoming the chair of something. And with the good spirit as well as the insightful mind that he brings to it, I welcome Troy Tassier, the chair of our pool task force, to give us an idea of what those folks have been doing, who they are, and where we go from here. Welcome, Troy.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. So I'm not sure, I'll just kind of go over just a few things that we're doing. Essentially, we started meeting a small handful of us that Peter had sort of pinpointed for us early on in, I would say that's about the second week of September. And we started talking about, what we should do with this pool committee. And then started brainstorming first just about the set of members that we should have on the committee. And I think, has everyone seen the list of people on the committee?
Yes,
or
the public has not, so we'll post that.
All right.
So we tried to. Okay, I can read them off, but that maybe isn't a great use of time. I'm not sure, but we tried to find a group that had. Okay. That had, a diversity of different types of pool users. So we wanted to have people with, young preschool kids, people with, kids in college. We wanted to have individual users, senior citizens. We wanted to have recreational swimmers, swim team people, adults that used it for lap swimming and whatnot. And I think we came up with a pretty good group that sort of covered all of those different bases as far as what we wanted to have in the committee. And then probably, I can't remember when our first meeting was. It was either late September or early October with the full committee. We got together and we kind of broke ourselves down into 3 different groups. And those 3 groups are sort of communications for the community, a finance group, and then a pool design group. Primarily what the communications crew is doing right now is working on a survey to distribute to the community to get a better understanding of both what they desire if we were to move forward with a refurbished or a new pool, or what, just in some sense, what an idealized pool would be for the community members, as well as, and I think we will need a little bit of guidance from the village board as well as the mayor, how far we should probe on this. But in my mind, we should also, if we're sending out this survey, have some sense of what people would be willing to pay in yearly memberships if we were able to upgrade the pool in some way. But again, I know that may get into, we want to make sure that, we do all of this sort of with your approval and whatnot. And
Sure.
Make sure that
no, I mean, I think that's obviously a question needs to be probed. It will be hard to put a finger on, but some anecdotal reports would be good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so there, that's probably the committee that's farthest along. So primarily Jill Jameson and Petra Zorgman are heading up that survey committee or the communications committee. And I think we should today was kind of the deadline for the committee members to give them our sort of final edits on what we think will be a pretty good draft of the survey that we may be able to share with the village board and with Matt and Eric and Peter and everybody.
David is
get your feedback.
David's a survey guy, so.
Okay, great. And we also, I should mention as well, Sean Doyle is on the committee, and he has a good friend of his who professionally does community surveys and consumer surveys and whatnot.
Oh, great.
And so this woman has agreed to take a look at the survey for us as well. I'm sure there are other folks with expertise in the group and whatnot, but we thought it'd be good to have someone with just outside eyes that does this professionally look at it to make sure we're not asking questions in a just a dumb way from someone who does this stuff. So that's kind of been the big push so far. And then there's also a finance group and a pool design group. So the finance group, I've had a couple conversations with Matt and with Eric, and they've given us great information so that at least the committee can, I'm sure it's all stuff that you guys know about, but folks in the committee don't, right? So just understanding a little bit more about what potential financing options are for a new pool so that when we get these survey results back and we start thinking about what it means, we also have an understanding, at least partially, of how it could be funded and whatnot. And then the final group is the pool design group. So it's a group of people that hopefully, I'd say this is the group that's probably the least far along. But what we want to be able to understand is when we get these survey results back, the pool design group would like to then sort of talk to, people with more expertise in pools to understand, how feasible is it to build a pool that the community says they want, and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, what is just not feasible from a cost perspective, and to kind of, spread a little bit wider out to different pool designers and different pools that have been built in the area or in other areas, just to see what kind of makes sense once we get the survey results back. So that's for the most part, that's where we are right now in the first week or two of December. Kind of hit that sort of between Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday season window in there to get the survey out, so that people have a couple weeks for us to pester them about filling it out and whatnot, and we can distribute it through, I know I've talked to Matt about distributing it through the rec department, and putting it, I understand, Nicole, I think your name is given to me anyway, as someone that I think you have some social media accounts for the village that you help.
Yeah, we would definitely want to put it out on the village Facebook page, and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's basically where we're at right now.
Well, so that sounds great. No surprise that we've got the right guy on the job here. So thank you, Troy, for taking this on. Just to remind everybody, we've had a couple of discussions in public settings before, but it is our intention to open the pool this coming summer, 2021, as we normally would, assuming the COVID situation makes that possible. So we intended to open it in 2019. And the only reason we didn't was the concern about COVID. Just want to comment, a couple of people have said, well, in hindsight, it seems like a bunch of people ran pools without too much trouble. Mount Pleasant opened, had to close for a while, then opened again. But obviously, hindsight is 2020. But I just want to point out to folks that we have a very, very constricted site, and the capacity to socially distance people in a small site was and is very limited. So part of what Troy and his group are looking at is how big the pool should be, and that inevitably sort of merges into the question of how could we use some of the rest of the site in more useful ways. We currently have, because of where the filter room is, this sort of weird backspace between the filter room and the basketball courts that doesn't serve too much of anybody. And long story short, after analyzing all of this stuff, it seems pretty clear that we're approaching the point in the life of this pool where continuing just to fix it is viable, but probably not a logical or responsible long-term solution. And the result of that is the discussion with Troy and the group and the community at large about essentially building a new pool, either similar in footprint to what we have now or different. But pretty much everybody who we talked to so far has said a few things are clear. And one of them is your pump and filter room should be above grade, not below, which is the current circumstance. And that's a big change all by itself. But also the question ultimately of whether we could have a pool that incorporated a kiddie area as well as the big pool on a single filter and pump system offers some economies and advantages, but as Troy's group will be digging into, also entails some sacrifices. So all those cost benefit decisions are in play.
Yeah, I imagine that's one of the things that's going to be on the survey, Troy. The question of whether people are comfortable with the idea of integrating the kiddie pool or whether they prefer to keep it separate.
Yeah, that's, I think there's at least my feeling among the committee, and I guess I'll speak for the whole committee in some sense here, but there's really two things. One is the sense of whether the kiddie pool and the main pool should be together or not. And, like the pool design folks from this summer are, I think, saying it makes sense to have them together. My feeling is that at least the members of the committee and the feelings of the members of the committee, what they expect out of the survey, I think, is that people are probably going to want the kiddie pool separate, that a lot of people seem to like that. But that's definitely one highlight in the survey. The other thing that, just again, the feedback that I've gotten from talking to lots of people after the meeting in, I believe it was late June, where they showed something that kind of looked like the pool that was down in Dobbs Ferry, is that people really like the size of our current pool. They don't feel crowded. And it just looked like something like the Dobbs Ferry pool was going to really sort of squish people together once you added things like, both having a smaller pool, but then adding things like slides and sprinklers and whatnot, that was, going to push a lot of the pool users into this one space that was going to be very congested. So that is another thing that is a big part of the survey, is figuring out, do folks really want that kind of stuff, as well as, what's the ideal size of the pool for a community like Pleasantville.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, once again, Troy, thank you for that. We'll look forward to the survey. We'll pump it out and you let us know what we can do to help. And whether we need to set up some easy mechanism for people to comment, an email address, whatever, you tell us what would work, and we'll make it happen. So
we already have an email address set up, pool@pleasantville-ny.gov.
Oh, great. Thank you. So pool at
mistress of the email address is Noreen.
I'm sorry, what was it again? It's pool
at pleasantville-ny.gov.
Okay.
And those emails land at your computer, Noreen?
I manage the account similar to the way I'll do, as I've done with the leaf blowers, do extracts and merge it and send them, and then maintain it as a master.
Oh, great. So then, Troy, we can send them to you or whoever you want. Obviously, we'll send it to Matt. But it's I don't know if you want to include that on the survey as a place where folks can comment if they want. That I don't know whether the survey designers would say that complicates the survey message, but obviously we should push it out at some point.
I should mention just a couple other things that we're doing just real quick. So one, Peter had mentioned the moving sort of the pump house and the filters and all this stuff that I don't know about, but Matt has very graciously offered to take us on a field trip and show us sort of a bunch of this stuff. So we appreciate that. And then the other thing that we would like to do that we will coordinate again with the village board is prior to the survey going out, maybe a little bit before Thanksgiving or right after Thanksgiving, we'd like to just send a letter out to the community to let them know about our group and sort of saying, expect a survey, so that it's sort of just a reminder to sort of keep it in their mind, and that when they get the survey, they don't just sort of delete it right away.
So are you imagining the survey is...
I think it'd be good if we...
Is a paper survey or an online survey?
No, online. And
okay.
Then,
but are you
getting the data, and
you'd like to send
analysis guy, so I'll
you'd like to send a paper letter, or is that an email letter also?
Oh, no. I apologize. No, just distributing again through the rec department emails and
Yeah.
other places.
So, I mean,
Just
what I
sort of
would
an
say,
announcement about the
and we just have to make sure we push it out in lots of ways, because obviously the folks in our rec department database who are part of our capture point registration system, those folks are all connected and are current or recent customers, so to speak. That gets to the universe of pool members. But we just need to make sure, as we will all work together, to make sure that we also get this out to the segments of the community that haven't been customers of the rec department or rec programs and may have opinions. And I know from discussions in parking lots and the like so far, there are folks who say, look, I never use the pool, but I think it's an important community service. And then on the flip side, folks who say, I never use the pool and I don't want to pay for it. So I just want to be sure that we reach out to everybody and get that range of opinion, which we know is out there. But obviously the survey will help us determine the scale of the feeling. So,
Peter, are we concerned about whether we can distinguish between people who are responding to the survey who live in the village and don't live in the village? Is that something?
Well, so I mean, obviously the customer base, so to speak, and potential customer base for our pool is really the school district as well as the village. School district being quite a bit larger than the village. So those guys want to be a part of it for sure. And in recent years, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, if you had a 10570 mailing address, you were entitled to participate. In some future world, when we have the Troy Tassier pool, and it's so fabulous that we are oversubscribed, we might have to trim our sails a little bit. But I think it's village and school district folks, other than to say the tax impact of it lands only on village taxpayers, not on school district taxpayers. So,
and that's when it would be prudent to consider all that when we, determine fees and charges and all of that. If there's some other, midway level, that's something we had in North Castle because of the Byram Hill School District. That sort of the same situation. We had an intermediate tier as well. So if that's something that we want to consider, certainly we should do that.
Yeah. So, and that makes sense. So what were you going to say, Troy?
If I could just jump in, Nicole, one of the first part of the survey is sort of a demographic collection of, do you live in the village? Do you live in the school district? What type of pool, have you been a pool member in the past? Individual member, senior member, family member? How many kids do you have? How many people in your household? Not a lot, but just a short section so that we could hopefully sort out if there are differences between village residents and school district residents on various things.
So Troy, just as you think about the design of those questions, just to muddy the waters further, there are some village residents who are not in the school district. Not many, but some.
Okay.
Then there are school district residents who are not in the village, and there are quite a few of those. Right. So if you say, do you live in the village? Yes. Do you live in the school district? For lots of people, the answer to that is also yes. If you ask the question, do you live in the school district outside the village? There are some people who would not know the right answer to that question, just because, especially if your taxes are paid by escrow and you don't see who you're spending the money to, you're not quite sure. And I mean, I often think it's a great blessing that there are lots of folks, especially folks like the school district, who view themselves as Pleasantville residents. But by the same token, I will say you can only get so far in asking a survey, but there is that uncertainty. So small number of people in the village, not in the school district, quite a large number of people outside the village, but in the school district.
Mr. Mayor, the latest numbers we have, and it'll be interesting to see when the new census comes out, but the latest numbers are 7,103 in the village and 8,213 in the school district. So
total population.
Excuse me?
Total population.
Total population, right. So, I mean, 7/8 of the village.
Do you happen to know whether that proportion is roughly evident in the student population?
It's roughly evident, yes. We actually did, for the pedestrian committee this year, a chart of where all the students lived.
Yes, I recall that.
And so we also did them by building, elementary school, middle school, and high school.
Right.
So we could even break it down in terms of age group if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk to Troy if that info feels like it'd be useful to feed into the research, but so. All right, sir.
It'd be helpful just to see if we, what if our survey comes back with very disproportionate numbers to those, that might be interesting
Okay,
to
but
know.
we'll be more than happy to provide that information if you'd like.
Okay.
Well, Troy, I thank you, and through you, everybody who signed up to work on this committee. And I know that our recently retired trustee, Steve Lord, is back in the saddle helping. Is he on the finance committee for you guys?
Yeah, he's on the committee, yeah.
So Steve's an old swim team guy, and also a guy with obviously lots of knowledge about what goes on our side as well. So a good ad in the draft. Make sure he wasn't picked up by any other team. So yeah. I thank you, sir. And we'll have you back as soon as you're ready to say something more. So thanks an awful lot.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Right.
Thank you.
So I got a bunch of announcements to make today, but before I get into that, is there any comment from a member of the public at this time on any subject? I see none at the moment. Oh, yes. Hello, sir. Unmute yourself.
Yes. How you doing? This is Tom Murphy. I'm at 52 Orchard Street.
Hey, Tom.
I spoke to you, I guess, back in May through July pertaining to the pool situation,
right,
in regards to the zoning laws
right,
in the village, the zoning requirements for pools. I'm trying to find out if there's any update, if any research has been done on that, and where we stand.
Here is my report on that, for the benefit of those who aren't aware. The Murphys sought to build a pool on their property and were denied at zoning a year or so ago for various shortcomings based on the size of the lot and the setbacks. I got that right, Tom? And so the question he has raised is, would the village board be willing to reduce some of the requirements for possibly for setback, but also for lot size? At the moment, the minimum lot size for a pool is, I think, 25,000 square feet. That is a bigger lot than most people have. So here's my report on this, Tom. Earlier tonight, we talked about a proposal from BFJ Planning regarding the possibility of a floor area ratio in our zoning code. And I talked to Susan Favate, who's the principal going to be in charge of that modest project, and told her about your concern. Part of what they're going to do as part of the FAR is sort of do a general analysis of lot sizes in Pleasantville in general, and then that will feed back into the question you have asked. So I can't promise you a very quick resolution, but I can promise you within the next few months, I think we'll have our arms around the question.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other comments from the public at the moment? All right. Then let me just start in on a bunch of announcements. The first is our COVID report. Eric, Noreen, and I participated in the weekly county municipal call. It used to be an every other day and then 2 days a week, and now we're down to once a week. Hopefully we remain there, but the COVID news is not at the point of being alarming, but it is decidedly headed in the wrong direction. The positivity rate today was about 4%. That is the percent of the tests taken that came back positive was about 4%. 3 months ago, that was 1.1%. A couple of days ago, it was 3.4%. George Latimer reports that the number of COVID hospitalizations in Westchester on November 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 went in this sequence. 47 COVID hospitalizations on November 2, then 51, then 54, then 69, then 82. So the number of hospitalizations in the space of 5 days went from 47 to 82. Obviously, every snapshot in time has the potential to skew the numbers, in part because there can be some incident that doesn't necessarily produce a trend. But it is pretty darn clear over the last month or so that we're trending up throughout Westchester. As perhaps those of you who are school district parents have seen, there are a number of positives now in the high school and elsewhere in the school district. There are quite a few people as a result of that in quarantine, including a bunch of school district staff people. So the situation is decidedly fragile. It couldn't be more important at the moment for folks to do everything they can do to avoid the spread of COVID in order to keep our businesses open, to keep our restaurants operating, to keep our kids in school, and to allow sports that can reasonably be able to happen. What that means is folks just need to wear a mask whenever they're anywhere near anybody else. And they lots of folks are doing that, but I can tell you that lots of folks aren't. Every single day I get complaints from people who say, I'm out walking and nobody's wearing a mask. I have to step out into the street to get around folks who aren't wearing a mask. I get it that outdoor environments and brief glancing exchanges with people are dramatically less risky than more intense interactions, but there's risk nonetheless. And if you go out without a mask, if you don't have a mask in your pocket to put on when you get near people, you're putting us all at risk. And it really couldn't be more important. I saw a quote from a doctor at Jefferson in Philadelphia, a major medical center and medical school, and he said, "We don't have a vaccine, but we have something that's almost as good. It's called a mask." So it's no fun to wear a mask. In my day job, I find myself in various hospital environments doing the work I do, and I wear a KN95 the whole time, never take it off. It isn't fun, but it's not impossible, and it's the best way to keep our life as close to normal as possible and to help get us back closer to normal. So, I mean, my takeaway message tonight is, based on the numbers we've seen this week and last week and the week before, we're headed for trouble. And trouble could conceivably mean a whole lot of stuff closing down. So there's a lot of concern about the implications of the holidays coming, with Thanksgiving in particular. Many colleges are sending their kids home, not to come back until after the new year. We've already got instances in the village of Pleasantville where young adults coming home have produced an exposure, and we're concerned that we're going to have more. So I know some colleges are asking students to get a COVID test before they go home, so that they have a reasonable expectation that they are not going to be carrying this somewhere else. But we're in a tough situation, and that situation right now isn't looking anywhere nearly as good as it looked even a few weeks ago. So please help in every way you can. Obviously, we're still in the wake of the November 3rd election, but I am happy to congratulate our local elected officials, Tom Abenanti, who was reelected as we knew he would, be unopposed in the Assembly District number 92. I believe that the state Senate race in the 40th District, Peter Harcum and Rob Estorino, remains not called until all of the paper and absentee ballots are counted. But as lots of you know, our longstanding Congresswoman in the 17th District, Nita Lowey, is retiring after long service, and her seat was won by Mondaire Jones. So we look forward to welcoming those folks, Tom and Mondaire, and then whoever it is who is the ultimate winner of the 40th Senate seat in 40th District Senate seat in New York, in Albany, who represents Pleasantville, and look forward to working with all. We will find an opportunity to thank Nita Lowy, who I can tell you over many, many years has been remarkably attentive to the village of Pleasantville. I assume many of the communities she represents would say the same thing, but I say this on behalf of every possible representative throughout the country in the House of Representatives. Running for re-election every 2 years is a remarkably difficult undertaking, and the idea that Nita Lowy was able to sustain the kind of focus on Pleasantville that she did, and to bring us some federal grants at various points along the way, is an impressive thing that is worthy of our thanks. I mentioned the last time, and Noreen can pipe up about this. Let me bring up here. There you see Pango stickers that are appearing all over our community. Noreen, tell them what it's about.
The village is now able to offer a mobile app-based payment system. You can still pay with quarters. You can still use the Easy Park card. So this is in addition to our existing systems, to also include the existing credit cards on the two parking lots that offer the pay stations. But this once again gives people an alternative that allows them to extend time up to the limit that the space you park in allows you to park. We're about 85% done with the stickers. We have some challenges with removing some old stickers first from some meter heads and making sure we renumber them properly before we pingo them, as we like to say. But you'll see them in most of the downtown areas complete: Washington, Wheeler, up Pleasantville Road, in the two parking lots, Bedford and Manville. So please take a look. You need to download the app and configure it with your credit card, with your license plates. And then once you're up and running, it'll be just pay attention to the zone you're in by looking at the meter head or for the sign, and you'll be able to pay on the go.
Peter, there are a couple people complaining on social media about the service charge. Could you explain why that's a better alternative than what our other alternatives were?
You want to take that, Eric?
Sure. Well, there's a 16% servicing charge, and that's for the product. So either we are paying for it via the village budget or passing that along to the consumer. So I think ultimately, since you can still pay with, at the pay stations with credit card, you can still pay cash. If you would like the convenience of the mobile parking app, there is a fee along with that.
Well, no, I guess the thing I think to explain to people is just how much it would have cost us to put in our own machines that would read credit cards, et cetera.
Oh, right. Yeah. This app is a relatively easy lift for the village to implement. Other options came with a significant infrastructure costs associated with it. So one way or another, it was, that there's going to be a cost associated with the convenience. So we thought this to be the most reasonable and most effective path forward.
So just to chime in on that front, we've talked over the last several years to several different suppliers of these kinds of systems. And one of the options available to us was to replace all of our meter heads with electronic enabled meter heads with swipes for credit cards. And that would have required all entirely new meters. They all require batteries to keep them running and get renewed. And then they all require a cellular uplink from every meter in order to connect to the card verification system. So the result of that, and I'm winging it when I say this, but I think I'm in the ballpark, is that the capital cost to buy the new meter heads was several $100,000. And then the cost to manage all these cellular uplinks to allow the meters to communicate with the credit card server was $30,000, $40,000 a year. And then there is a transaction fee for every credit card transaction, which can either be, in the case as we have just described, get added to your fee or get absorbed by the village. But even the salespeople for the systems essentially said, you can't even think about doing this until you're willing to charge $1 an hour or higher for your parking. Nobody wanted to charge $1 an hour for parking. And so Pango gives us an option that allows people the convenience, albeit at a service charge, without incurring those few $100,000 of expenses, and recognize also that for most of the communities that have the cellular enabled meters, they also charge a service fee. So, I mean, it was in the grim circumstance. I recall the salesman, this was a couple of years back, reporting that a 50-cent purchase actually would have cost the village money. That is, the parking person would pay 50 cents and the village would pay more than that in order to complete the transaction. So Pango feels like a chance to deliver that benefit for those who want to use it. And if you're upset by the service fee, you have all the options you always did to use coins or in the meters that accept them, a credit card. So
I was just saying to David, this is something it would be good to produce a short video about, to push out on social media, to show people how it works and just explain a little bit how it came about.
That sounds like Noreen's moment. What do you think? Video?
We could work with Courtney and Jackie on it.
I am famous because of the food scrap bit. I don't know if anybody caught that one. That went viral. So people have been asking for it. So.
All right, you're hired. We better watch it though. She's going to get an agent, and then it'll be hard. All right, so that is the Pango subject. Thanks to lots of folks in the village. Halloween was a more subdued affair than we wanted it to be, but I think also a nice event with lots of kids and families finding ways to celebrate Halloween that didn't expose them to the risk we would otherwise have confronted with a regular trick-or-treating year. Our rec department invited people to send in pictures, and I know that PCTV is in the midst of stitching them together into a slideshow that will run on PCTV. I believe Shane indicated he'll have that up by tomorrow. Is that fair to say?
Yes, by 3 o'clock tomorrow, it will be the featured video on PCTV76.org.
Okay, so a fun little way to experience a little bit of the great event that the Ragamuffin Parade always is, at least a parade of folks in their costumes. And so here's hoping that come Halloween 2021, we're all back to normal and that great day in Pleasantville can occur. It as always does. Our rec department took pictures of all of the many, many pictures painted on the storefront windows and had a vote for the best one online. But you can also take a look and see every one of them. So shout out to all the folks on our rec department led by Matt Trainer for doing that. A really nice way to highlight what I think might have been a bumper crop of Halloween pictures drawn on storefronts. And also thank all of those storefronts who said, sure, come and splatter paint all over my storefront. We'll clean it up later, which they did with good spirit and great results. So thank you to everyone who was involved. A note got sent out on our village news list from the folks at our Public Works Department, which is when you are raking leaves to the edge of your property, please leave them at the edge, not over the curb into the drive lane. We've had a bunch of problems where big leaf piles have ended up in the drive lanes and they're creating some traffic problems for folks. Our team, when they come by, pulls them out in order to collect them. But your leaves should go at the edge of your property or in the space between the curb and the sidewalk if there is one. but not out in the street. As was mentioned, I think, or maybe not, and maybe we mentioned a work session, we have a quarterly newsletter. A new issue has come out. That's available online at pleasantville-ny.gov. Left-hand column, scroll down to Pleasantville Posts, and you can take a look at this as well as any previous edition of the newsletter. Let me remind you again, as I have many times, and let me just share my screen and you can see it. Here's our website, pleasantville-ny.gov. If you scroll down a bit to Pleasantville Posts, click on that. Here's what you get. The new fall edition of the newsletter, interesting stuff on many subjects. Shout out to Asquith and Alvarez, headline sworn in as village trustees. Welcome, Paul. Thank you, Nicole, for a second term. And then a worthy shout out to Debbie Nava, for many the face of the Recreation Department for many, many years in its various incarnations in the old rec center when it was camped out at Village Hall and then down in our rec center by the field. Debbie has retired and she has departed our employ, but not departed our midst. So it was a nice opportunity to thank her for years of service. I just want to remind everybody that that if you are so inclined, you can go to news and announcements and you can subscribe to whatever you want. I strongly recommend that you choose village and local news. Anything else depends on your interests. But if you choose, for example, Village Board of Trustees, you will get our work session and regular session agendas emailed to you every week. And I encourage you to do that. It is a fantastic way to stay in touch with what's going on. But this village and local news is also the place where you would get a note that there's a new newsletter and here's the link to look at it, so that you wouldn't even have to think about remembering when there might be one. It is also a link that we use when we need to report other kinds of stuff like a water main break or some sort of work going on in the roadway that might affect you. It is not, however, our emergency method of contacting you. That is over here, code red. That is a subscription service we have signed on to keep you informed in a true emergency. We very, very strongly recommend that everybody create an account here. It's also a means by which people, for example, extended family of people who live here can stay in touch with what's going on. We will not use this for anything other than emergency use, but we've learned in a couple of extreme weather situations that when power is out and the like, it's hard to reach people. Code red is the way to do it. So sign up for news and announcements if you already haven't done it. Pleasantville Posts will land in your inbox automatically, but you can always go here and take a look. And while I am here, I will scroll down to the Police Reform and Reinvention Collaborative. Governor Cuomo has required every community in New York State to undertake a police reform review and to engage stakeholders and to issue a report back to the state on the results of that by April 1. So if you click into that page that I just showed you, it will bring this up, which gives you an outline of what's going on, why we're doing it, our primary areas of focus, and the groups we have reached out to. Also included here is the governor's original executive order. If you're interested in this subject, I recommend that you get used to taking a look at that page because we'll be adding more material there as this process develops. We had an initial meeting with folks we identified as leaders in groups that could disseminate information further. But the important point is that our first big public session is going to be a week from Thursday. That's Thursday, November 19 at 7:30, a Zoom meeting. Again, you'll get that information if you're on our news link, but you can also get that here at pleasantville-ny.gov. So mark your calendar if that's a subject of interest. Thursday, November 19 at 7:30. All of those Zoom meetings will be recorded and they'll also be available at PCTV76.org. We've also established, thanks to Noreen, an email address, police reform at pleasantville-ny.gov. which is a place that folks can send information or comments that they want to be part of the record. So that's my pitch here about our website and about police reform. We're about to encounter some traffic issues associated with a major infrastructure project going on the Sawmill Parkway. That is going to mean that a significant section of the parkway is going to be reduced to a single lane instead of two. Eric, you want to give a quick report about that?
Yep. So the lane shift is I forget the exact date. I believe any day now, and it'll be in place for the today. It'll be in place for approximately 8 months as they work to reconstruct these two segments of bridge structures that are over 100 years old. Basically, they're elevating them to meet 100-year floodplains to limit and remediate flooding in the area. So all traffic will be routed in both directions on the one side of the parkway, and then as work is completed, they'll adjust and move to the other. There will be some detours as they have to close off exits. So we're expecting some detours through the Grant Street exit, but those are, as the DOT has communicated, only during the night, only nighttime detours. So we will see some impacts that way, but again, not during the meat of the rush hour or daytime traffic.
Can you just be clear on what you're talking about bridges, the work that they're doing on bridges? They're not doing the bridges over the parkway. They're not even doing the piece of bridge under the parkway that they've already done.
No.
They're doing a new, all through the village. I guess it's right near the river. They're raising up.
Right. It's the Marble Avenue exit to essentially Grand Street. There are sections of the roadway that you wouldn't determine so, but they're actually elevated and they're actually technically bridges. It seems like you're just on the parkway, but it's elevated roadway. That has sunk over time due to use and erosion. So that's where the flooding issues have occurred over the years. Again, they're going to bring it up to the 100-year floodplain level.
Right.
So it's a pretty complex project, but one that they hope to do within the next year.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Eric. Thank you for pointing that out, Joe. One piece about COVID that I should have mentioned and forgot to do was this. For those of you who don't know, New York State has come up with a COVID alert app that's available both for iPhone and for Android phones. And essentially what it does is it provides an anonymous exposure notification that gives you an alert if you were in close contact with who tests positive for COVID-19. So essentially what the phone is doing, and by their reports completely anonymously, noting where you are and interacting with the phone of anyone else who has the app, so that it essentially is creating a contact list. And if anyone who has the app tests positive, everyone who met the standards for exposure to them gets an alert. So please take a look at it. If you're comfortable in doing so, I encourage you to download the alert app. I looked into it. I have done so. It's up and running on my phone, and I encourage people to do that. You can go to coronavirus.health.ny.gov, as you see on this page. If you want to read more about it, you can also download it on the Apple App Store and on Google Play. All right. Then a couple of, and a bunch of other things, maybe I'll just save them for another day as we have gone on for a while here. A bunch of dates to mention. We would normally tonight have had a resolution to announce polling places for the village election that takes place on Tuesday, March 13. On that occasion,
March 16th.
I'm sorry, March 16th. I had it written properly and I typed it, I said it wrong. Tuesday, March 16th. the mayor and 2 trustees, that's me, Joe, and David, up for election. At the moment, it's unknown who will run. But at any rate, we would normally be putting the pieces in place. Sounds like we're going to do it next time because there's some question about the availability of polling places. But recall, our village elections are managed by the County Board of Elections, and I encourage you to go to citizen participation at westchestergov.com. I think they're not really up and running yet for those March elections as they deal with the fallout from the current one, but I assume that stuff will come up soon and we'll have more to say as it goes. Tomorrow, Tuesday, November 10 at 7:30, we have our annual joint meeting with the school board. That will be a Zoom meeting. We alternate years as the host. Would normally be either at Village Hall or at the high school. We're in a Zoom world, but the school district is the host, so they have issued the Zoom link. You can get it on their site, probably on ours too. Have we posted that, guys?
Not yet.
Yeah, well, we should if we haven't. At any rate, so that's tomorrow, Tuesday, November 10 at 7:30, the annual joint meeting of the village board and the school board. The agenda is up on their site, and we encourage you to log into that Zoom meeting if it's a subject of interest. That's tomorrow at 7:30.
The meeting has been on our calendar.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
We
on
just have the Zoom information that was added today, but it has been on our calendar
Okay, great. Thank
on
you.
the website.
Wednesday is Veterans Day. The tradition is to provide a brief Veterans Day ceremony at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. So that would be Wednesday, November 11 at 11 a.m. This year, we are going to do that via Zoom for obvious reasons. Difficult to convene a group. Ill-advised to do what we have done in some past years, had a chorus group from the high school singing and the like. So we're going to have a brief ceremony at 11 a.m. on Wednesday, the 11th on Zoom. Same story. We'll send out an email alert to folks who are on our list, but it's also going to be on the calendar to pick up the Zoom link. That'll get recorded and you could see it on Pleasantville PCTV76.org thereafter. As I already mentioned, a week and a half from now, Thursday, November 19 at 7:30 p.m., also a Zoom meeting, a public session about the police reform. And I think I have said what I have to say. I'll leave these other ones to comment at a future date. Did anyone else have announcements or comments to make at this time?
Yeah, I have one.
Go for it.
So one more Halloween related announcement. We did something new this
Oh
year.
God, I completely forgot. The best thing of all, I apologize. Take it away, David. Your brain trust.
So we did the first annual creepy candy crawl through the village of Pleasantville and the Pleasantville School District. We reached every single street in the village. And I believe every street in the Bedford Road School and Pleasantville Middle School service area. I personally drove across the Sawmill on Sawmill Road and found a whole group of kids from those 2 schools at the end of it. I know personally that we tossed out a total of over 7,000 pieces of candy in just over 2 hours. I'm making this announcement actually to thank the people that made this happen, trustees Nicole Asquith and Paul Alvarez, Board of Ed trustees Shane McGaffey and Jill Grossman, Sarah Huckinen, Michael Lyons from PVAC from the ambulance corps was gracious enough to lead one of the 3 routes that we ran through the village with an ambulance. Jackie Burton.
Someone ate too much candy.
Yeah, exactly. Jackie Burton, who helped coordinate us and make sure that if there's any concerns that we heard about it, and then took lots of great pictures, some of which have been featured in newspapers and on social media. And Lauren Levine, who local graphic artist who donated her talents in created a route map for us for free. I very much hope we're going to do this again next year. We will be louder. We know we missed some people who just didn't hear us coming by. We were there, but we had a great time. My family had a great time, and we hope to do this again. So thank you.
I'll just add one thing, and thank you to all the people who donated candy, because I was shy about that, but David said, let's just put out a request. And of course, people being so generous in Pleasantville, we had all the candy we needed and then some.
Yeah, all the candy was donated. So thank you so much for villagers for donating candy.
And David, thank you so much for spearheading this. I mean, I think the community really, really appreciated it. I know on my route, there were a lot of happy families, a lot of happy kids. I'm sure on your routes as well. So thanks for the idea.
And again, thank you, David. It's one of those ideas that is a great idea. Seems like it's hard to pull off. It's easy to find reasons why the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And David, as is often the case, won't take no for an answer when there's a good idea, and made it happen. So thank you, David. First annual. So now you're on the hook, buddy.
The kids actually didn't fight for 2.5 hours, so it was well worth it.
So did you have extra candy, or you did the last house, you threw the last piece out?
There were routes where there was a lot of extra candy. In our car, we literally threw out every single piece of candy, and we finished at the last house. So it worked out perfectly.
How did you manage that?
They were very generous in their candy throwing.
We were. We had 4 people throwing out candy at every child in the village.
I can tell, by the 5th year, the kids are going to know who's more generous. I'm going to be on that route. So.
Totally.
Well,
I just quickly say people were very generous. They're actually on our route, people who actually gave us candy. And we were very close to running out, and a woman actually came up with a huge bag of candy for us that actually got us through. So, the community is just, Pleasantville is Pleasantville, and there are a lot of great people. So thanks to the community as well.
A uniquely Pleasantville moment in an otherwise limited Halloween year, a nice, bright thing. So thank you guys for that. All right. Is there any further comment from the public on any subject? Have we bored everyone and they've left? All right. With that, let's go to the resolutions. Paul, how about number 222? Let me share my screen. Okay, I have done so.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the minutes of the regular meeting and public hearing held on October 26, 2020. See the attachment of all the minutes and the Zoom transcript.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments, questions, corrections to the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. While we're there, I'll comment as I have in the past. We have not only minutes, which are an abstracted version of what went on, kind of the executive summary, but also now a courtesy of the robots at Zoom, a word-for-word transcript. And since we are doing our work sessions on Zoom as well, we're gonna do the same and have a Zoom transcript of, as well as a Zoom recording of our work sessions. It would not be a resolution to approve. It's simply a record of what went on. So for those who care, that will be available. Okay, Nicole, 223.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following budget amendments for fiscal year 2021 as listed below. Budget transfers, close capital project and return balances to appropriate funds in the amount of $2,045.18 from intermodal project from fiscal year 2007 to the general fund.
Is there a second?
Second.
I wish it were a bigger surplus, but all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Essentially a cleanup resolution. 224, Joe.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the abstract for payment of claims dated November 9th, 2020 for fiscal year 2021 covering covering check numbers 98682 to 98821 from the general fund, $134,916.80. From the special purpose fund, $1,487.50. From the water fund, $138,661.30. From the capital fund, $1,592.82. From the refuse fund, $8,513.24. And from the trust fund, $4,800 for a total of $289,971.66, all of which are attached.
Is there a second?
Second.
So as is evidence, folks who don't follow our fiscal year day to day, which I assume is most folks, our fiscal year runs from June to May. And so we're currently in FYE, fiscal year ending 2021. So although these are 2020 expenses, they're in fiscal year ending 2021. Comments or questions on the payment of claims? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. And again, just to remind folks, you can follow along or at any time click into this meeting via pleasantville-ny.gov, the Board of Trustees page. It will link you to Novus Agenda, which is what we're in right now, an online agenda system. And you'll see what we see, including the capacity to click into anything in blue, which is a hot link to the backup. So anyone who wants to follow in detail, pleasantville-ny.gov is the place to go. 225, David.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby approves a 2.25% salary increase for the following village employees retroactive to June 1st, 2020. For Eric Grutzner, the police chief, the new salary is $176,314. For Jeff Econom, superintendent of public works, the new salary is $168,887. For Mary Schwartz, the treasurer, the new salary is $163,923. For Eric Morrissey, the village administrator, the new salary is $135,916. Robert Hughes, the building inspector, the new salary is $117,573. For Noreen Regan, Noreen Regan administrative aide, is that title right? The new salary is $115,006. For Matthew Trainer, the superintendent of Rex and Park, the new salary is $112,475. For Noreen McGinty, the deputy treasurer, the new salary is $86,913. For Stephanie Tim Austin, court clerk, the new salary is $86,342. And for Joni Ehrlich, the director of senior services, the new salary is $76,327.
Is there a second?
Second.
Again.
So the board discussed this and wanted to give our management employees a salary increase roughly consistent with that which the unionized workforce is getting. We are doing this now in November instead of in June because of the uncertainty about the village budget in the world of COVID, but are at this point believing we're in a sufficiently stable position to authorize these increases. Comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. 226, back to Paul.
Peter, shouldn't Noreen have a better title like commandant or something?
Well, if she's going to be the star of a video, that creates itself a new opportunity. All right, more on that later. 226, Paul.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign an intermunicipal agreement with the Westchester County for the residential food scrap transportation and disposal RFSTAD program.
Is there a second?
Second.
Eric, do you want to give the quick report on this that you gave us earlier?
Sure. So we are currently contracted with Suburban Carting, which is engaging in a IMA with Westchester County as we speak. The current rate that we pay on a monthly basis is $400 per month. The new contractual rate with the county that's going to be passed on to participating municipalities is $120 a month. So the service won't change, nothing will change. But the bulk purchasing power is leveraging us about a $3,400 savings over the year. So we are moving over. Suburban Contracting is willing to break the current contract so we can enter into the rate with the IMA.
Thank you for that. And it's also worth noting, as we have noted in the past, although there are so many variables in the system, it's hard to quantify, but we pay for the trash we deliver to the trash to energy plant in Peekskill by the pound. And so every pound of food scraps that get diverted from the garbage trucks saves us a little money on that side. So it is not only an ecological benefit, but there's some offset economic benefit. And just want to encourage everybody to participate in this. We are still selling kits up on the third floor. Noreen is able to help you out with that. For $25, you get 2 bins, a countertop bin, as well as a bigger storage bin and a starter supply of compostable bags. It is surprisingly easy to do, surprisingly quick to realize how much stuff ends up in the food scraps. And I can report in my own case, rewarding to do, to feel as though that stuff, instead of ending up in a landfill or being incinerated, is turning into rich compost. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. And thanks to the county for spearheading this effort to assist all the communities with this option. Nicole, 227.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign the amendment with Foodchester to allow for outdoor winter operations of the Pleasantville Farmers Market in Memorial Plaza from December 2020 through March 2021.
Is there a second?
Second.
You've commented on this before. Normally in right after Thanksgiving, the farm market is closed for 1 week and then opens again in its winter location in the Pleasantville Middle School. That obviously is impossible this year in the world of COVID. And so they're going to continue to operate outdoors in Memorial Plaza, a somewhat different arrangement, largely dependent on online ordering. You need to get to the Pleasantville Farm Market website, sign up for the online ordering system, which is available now. Get used to it, because it'll be a great way to continue to get that stuff and to support those markets, as well as to get the stuff you're used to getting. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Related 228, Joe.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby institutes a no parking every Saturday from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. from December 5th, 2020 to November 20th, 2021 as follows. A Memorial Plaza parking lot, both sides from the gazebo to the end of the parking lot, northerly direction. And parking meter numbers 132, 133, 134, 135, 136, and 137 across from the Pleasantville Diner. Further resolved that the police department is hereby authorized to post no parking signs as to all vehicles in violation of the temporary parking restrictions.
Is there a second?
Second.
So this is essentially extending in somewhat revised form the no parking regulations that exist in the rest of the year that normally don't exist in the winter because the farm market has gone elsewhere. This year they'll still be there. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 229, David.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to enter into an agreement with Jay Gottlieb for an easement on the property located at 11 Hillview Drive for the purpose of the village constructing a drainage culvert and supporting drainage pipes.
Is there a second?
Second.
This is an effort to resolve a water runoff issue across the Gottlieb's property and into the street on Hillview. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 230. Back to Paul.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign the intermunicipal agreement with the Westchester County for mutual aid and rapid response plan for police departments in Westchester County for the period of July 1st, 2020 through July 30th of 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
So this, so you'll correct me if I get any of it wrong, Eric, is the intermunicipal agreement that exists throughout Westchester County that essentially says we'll all help, each police department will help one another subject to these terms in a circumstance when they need additional support.
That's correct.
Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 231, Nicole.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign contract number C6 67-20-798 with Westchester County for $100,000 CDBG partial funding for specific improvements to the Clinton Street Senior Center to include installation of a generator, replacement of 2 rooftop HVAC systems, and replacement of the walk-in freezer condensing units.
Is there a second?
Second.
So this is the Community Development Block Grant funding system. It's federal money distributed through the county and specifically available only in certain situations. Our senior center is one of them that qualifies in the village of Pleasantville. And the big piece of this is the installation of a generator, which would allow our senior center and the apartments, senior apartments above it to continue to operate in the event of a power outage, which is something we've long talked about wanting and needing. The capacity to make sure our senior center continue to operate even in an extended outage is an important improvement. And here is an opportunity for some substantial funding assistance. The generator will also be partly supported by the Pleasantville Housing Development Fund, which is the not-for-profit group run by a local board, President Brian Skarstad. They'll also contribute to this expense. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 232, Joe.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following budget amendment for fiscal year 2021 as listed below. From the general fund, $10,000 from contingent to planning and zoning outside services.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? This, I assume, is related to our next resolution.
That's correct.
To, in part, fund the coming resolution. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. And then lastly, David, number 233.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign the proposal with BFJ to establish floor area ratio, FAR, regulations for single-family residential zones in the village for a fee of $15,000.
So could we revise that to say for a fee not to exceed $15,000?
Yeah.
That okay to the mover? Did I ask for a second? Actually, did we get a second? Who
No.
would say?
Well, it's the revision is fine with me. Do you want to ask for second as revised?
Yeah. Second that again?
Second.
Okay. So let me bring this up. Can you see the proposal or do I have to share a different pane?
Share a different pane.
Okay, here we go again. I was sharing a pane and not a screen. There we go. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, so BFJ Planning is an outfit based in New York City with offices elsewhere. They are the planning firm that assisted us a few years back on our master plan revision, and they have assisted us ever since on an on-call basis on various major projects. They've done a great job for us, and we reached out to them to inquire about a study to consider whether we should add what's called an FAR regulation in our single-family residential zone. FAR is floor area ratio. The floor area ratio is the ratio produced by dividing the total square footage of a building into the total square footage of a property. So, for example, if you had a 2,000 square foot house, total square footage of 2,000 on a 4,000 square foot lot, that would produce an FAR of 0.5. That is 2,000 square feet divided into 4,000. So I just use that as an example. FARs are common in zoning codes as one of the means by which the constraints on development of a property are established. We already have in our zoning code height maximums. We also have setbacks for front yard, side yard, backyard. And the question of whether we should have an FAR has arisen recently. Some folks in Ashland Avenue specifically asked us to take a look at this question in response to a large home that is being constructed there as of right. And so in response to those concerns, we propose here to hire BFJ Planning to take a look at the question, to come back to us, working with us, the village board, and staff and our building department, to assess the question of whether an FAR regulation makes sense for us, and if so, what that might look like. So that is what we propose tonight. They have an upset fee of $15,000, but propose to bill this work on an hourly basis up to that point.
So Mayor, I want to speak for myself. I saw this proposal this evening, about an hour and a half before the meeting, and it seemed complicated to me. And I asked for it to be postponed for one meeting, just so I can think about it and figure out whether or not it's something that we need to establish floor area ratios in residential zones. And I'm not prepared to vote on this, so I'm going to vote no on this tonight. And I wanted to be clear also on the last resolution, which should have been when we voted to move money from one fund to another, $10,000. I did not vote, so I just want Noreen to be clear that I did not vote.
You abstained.
You can mark me down as abstention on that last vote. And on this one, I'm going to vote no, because it's just too complicated of a question, and we're going to be expending money, perhaps for no reason, but really, I think the end game is that they're going to be proposing a floor area ratio that the village is going to approve, and I'm not prepared to do that without some analysis beforehand. So I'm going to vote no on this resolution.
Okay, so Joe, we had this conversation in work session, and all of us are aware of Joe's feelings, which I totally respect, and will, as always, respect someone who votes no. I will say, from my standpoint, you're exactly right. It's a complicated question, and that's exactly why I will vote yes, because we don't know if it makes sense to insert an FAR here, and we are not the ones with the expertise to determine that. And the only way you sort out a complicated question is to engage folks you trust who have expertise to work through it. You present the notion that it's a fait accompli, that it will be done. That may or may not turn out to be the case, but the opportunity that all of us will have as we work with BFJ on this, and in the hypothetical that a zoning resolution is presented, is to say, okay, well, you've made the case for and against any specific choice. Now we understand what the ramifications are. Now we understand what you believe, planner, to be best practices. Now you've brought us up to speed on what goes on in communities we compare ourselves to. Now we understand what the potential impacts would be on zoning and planning in our own community. I don't know how you get to that point without hiring somebody to take a look at it, which is why I will vote yes to spend $15,000 to do it. But I certainly respect your viewpoint on it. But essentially, all this vote tonight is simply to say a whole bunch of residents have asked us to look at this, and we will.
I just wanted to put it over for one meeting. It's a complicated question, and I wanted to get an opportunity to think about it and decide whether I vote yes or no, but I didn't get that opportunity tonight. It's just too quick for me to vote yes. That's
Okay.
all.
All right. Any other comments, questions? All right. Let's do a roll call since it will be a split vote. Paul,
I vote yes.
Nicole,
Yes.
Joe,
No.
David,
Yes.
I vote yes. So resolution passes 4-1. Okay. That was the last of our resolutions. Do we have anybody want to bring up new business? And is there any comment from the public on any subject as we prepare to head off to an executive session? There being none, is there a motion to go into executive session to discuss a legal matter?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. So we depart to go into executive session. Eric pinged all of us with the conference call info as usual. Two reminders as we leave tonight. Thank you for your attention. Tomorrow night, Tuesday, November 10 at 7:30 via Zoom, joint meeting between the village board and the school board. And a week from Thursday, November 19, 7:30, also via Zoom, public meeting as we kick off our police reform initiative. Thank you all. A good night.
And
Otherwise,
also on Wednesday, the Zoom for Veterans Day.
Yes.
thank you for that. Yes, I should have gotten that in order. Wednesday, the 11th at 11 a.m. Zoom ceremony for Veterans Day. Thank you, Shane, for that reminder. All right. Thank you all. Good night. We head off to executive session.